Have you ever been given advice from people that are not knowledgeable, or don't nothing, have no clue? I've been given advice quite a lot from people who have no clue about the subject, but they were really confident in giving me advice. When I started my law firm, I was given a lot of advice from my parents. That's actually ironic because they were never starting a law firm. They were not even lawyers. They were working in a factory before they started their own farm. So they knew something about handling people, but they had no idea what a law firm looked like and how it was doing business and how to attract good clients. So what they were saying was, what the advice was, you should always take all the clients, take all the money, take everybody, every client is great, everything is great. Take all the casework that gets presented. You're going to have a lot of work and you're going to be rich and so on. What I noticed is quite the opposite. The more I thought about it, the more I did the work, I noticed all the work, that meant you took mostly crappy work. What I mean by crappy, it means that cases by people that were rejected by other lawyers that were lowly paid, and it was a highly demanding interpersonal case, meaning you had to spend a lot of time to talk to your client, to explain to them, to educate them, to persuade them to take an action, what the action should be. So they agreed. We were both on each side, and the money was really bad because they were low stakes cases. Some even tried to persuade me that I should do on contingency base. That means if I succeed, I'm going to get a portion of the winning. And I already knew that the case was bad because if it was good, other lawyers would not send this case to me. If it were good, the client would be okay. It wouldn't be some old case that 5 other lawyers had already did something to it. So I knew that was wrong. But the more I learned, I also learned that even cases where the clients were okay, the cases need to be filtered out. Not every case is worth your time because my time is actually quite precious. Not because I had a lot of work or I was really, really wealthy. For example, one of the acquaintances of my father wanted that I send an appeal to a government agency. And he asked how much, a simple letter, he said, a simple letter. I didn't know exactly what it was, but he said a simple letter. So he said, how much will that be? And I said, I don't know, 100 euros, $10. And he was saying, oh, that's too much. I said, how much less? And he was saying, $20. I'm not going to do it. Why not? A couple of sentences. I was thinking, I didn't say that exactly to him. I said, just no, because I saw that it was quite difficult to work with him, first. Secondly, it was obviously a quite complicated case. And third, by doing something for 20 euros, $20 wouldn't actually make me, first miserable, and secondly, I wouldn't actually be making money, I would be losing money. You have to consider, in Europe, where I'm working, every hour I'm actually working, I have to pay taxes, pay health benefits, social benefits, and insurance policies. So calculated down per hour, those expenses are quite high. So 1 hour of work actually costs me at least 7 to 10 per hour. So by doing something $20, you could say, oh, but you could, win $10. No, actually not, because I already knew that he was spending my time at the moment of negotiation. And of course, I couldn't just write that, in half an hour. In his case, I would have to research the case law and I have to write a draft and probably send it to him to approve it. And then I would send it to the post office for the government agency to receive. So I would incur at least 3 hours of work and at least additional costs. So it was not worth it. It was better that I sit tight and do nothing than do this. But so that was the second time I realized that my parents' advice was actually great. This was probably a bit off. And then I noticed something even stranger. The wealthier people were, the more rich the case was, easier it was working with a client. So if it was a $500,000 or $1 million case, the clients were actually quite okay to work with. They were understanding there were risks, they were understanding what I was telling them, not specifically, but they were understanding there was risk and what the pitfalls were, what they can mitigate, what we can mitigate, what we cannot mitigate, and they were quite understandable. People who were at low risk, people who were paying less, when I told them, they were saying to me, is it a done case? Is it 100%? I was just explaining to them, there's nothing certain in life except death and taxes. What do you mean? Why is it uncertain? I have to have right. I'm right. The other person is immoral. It's just black and white situation, which is actually not true. So I noticed it was really hard to work for a low ticket item. And third, the type of work actually matters to me, because some type of work really stressed me out, so it was taking an emotional toll on me. Another type of work, it was actually really satisfying for me, emotionally, I'd say, evened out. So I say, take all the cases. No, why would I take all cases? Why would I torture myself taking on I don't know, a pedophile case, a murder case, a family divorce case with little children, which is actually very emotionally tolling for most of the people. Why would I take on that case if it doesn't bring me joy? I will suffer, the client's horrible, the pay is bad. So that's all the aspects that nobody actually from my parents considered, because they never worked for it. So what's my point? Why I'm going on this journey? My point is, you should only take advice from people who were in the shoes or are in the shoes that you want to attain. I should only take, advice from people who are actually lawyers with a law firm. Even then, I should be wary of what they're telling me. So I had my landlord, who was an attorney, law office. He was next door, and she was telling me, some advice. And even then, I had to be wary. How did she actually mean that? She had a different cognitive filter as I did. I had a different experience in life as she did. So when you shouldn't take cases about this and that, or you should take all cases, or you should take a government case, it was from a different perspective. She was thinking about her own perspective, her own upbringing, her own experience, and I was thinking mine. So even then, be wary. So it's very difficult to give good advice. So when people ask me, give me advice on starting a law firm, I'm actually wary of giving it. There are so many aspects that I don't know about this person. And I'm just telling him the general advice that it's actually the most probably useful. It's a tough job, and you have to prolong for a long time, which is true for a lot of entrepreneurship. And it's a people job. It means you deal with people. And sometimes, some days it will be better. Some days it will be worse. All in all, it depends what you like. A really, really old USA attorney wrote in one book that I was reading, he said, you have the clients you want or deserve. And I found it, when I was starting, really, really weird. How do I get the clients that I want? Of course, I want good clients. That doesn't everybody. And it's actually really deep. You get the clients you want. If you want only good paying clients that are dealing with real estate and contractual law, which I'm doing right now, that nothing else gets to your mind. Nothing else gets on your plate. If clients now call me and they want a divorce, I'm 99.9% certain I'm going to say no, because that doesn't bring me joy. I'd rather sit here and film a YouTube video or scratch my cats outside. So that one makes me stressful. And I know it's stressful because I've dealt with those cases. I've dealt with the good cases, I've dealt with the average cases, I've dealt with the horrible cases. And all three types are not okay for me. So be careful who you take advice from. Or as somebody said on the internet, I don't recall who it was, be careful of your information diet. Who you take information from. Because as an entrepreneur, as a service provider, you have to check where you're getting your information from. If you're checking all the information from a low ticket people, you're going to start being a low ticket provider. That I saw in my own practice as a lawyer, actually, and I'm seeing it also now. When I was on this government list, the legal aid list, there were, of course, low ticket items because there were people who got, legal aid from the state. The state paid their fees. And these people actually acted as they were giving me a favor by being my client. And actually, I was getting paid 1/10 of a normal market rate, and they were being like 10x bitchy as normal. So, and irrational, even irrational. One guy was calling me in the middle of midnight because he hadn't had time to call me any time before or after. And on the legal aid decision, it was said that he was continuously unemployed. He had all the time in this world story, but he was working, of course. He had working, on the side. So be wary of your information diet and be wary who you hang out with. Because if you hang out with people with low ticket items, you're going to be selling low ticket items really soon because they will just forward the case. You will get so-called infected. And I noticed that also when you hang out with lawyers and lawyers hang out with other lawyers who are doing low ticket items, they will all start being low ticket. Even if you lose all the friends, acquaintances, be what you want to be and stick with it. Sometimes it's going to be hard, but just remember the alternative is way worse. The alternative is going to places where you don't want to be and you're going to hate your career. So it's just like the old saying, tough decisions, easy life, easy decisions, tough life. Take your decisions, take your advice from people who know it, what you're going through. Of course, there are some universal advice, but mostly think critically about what somebody's saying, even from me, of course. Never, never assume that whatever is said to you, even with the best intentions in mind, that it's right advice, right information for you. That's it all from me, and hope you enjoyed it. And if not, leave it in comments. And if you did enjoy it, push that like button and subscribe. Thank you.